Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 153, Bookings Bombs, recorded on Friday, July 2nd, 2021 from Zenata Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
All right, we have our webinar coming up on July 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's going to be on Zoho subscriptions. I'm actually excited to do this one. I love the product. We use it a lot, and so I think that's going to be a fun one. So be sure to head over to zenata.com events, and there you will find all of the events that are coming up. Zoho's got one called Building Your Online Store in Under 60 Minutes. That'll be on Tuesday, July 6th. So you've done all that brainstorming on the 4th of July, so just come on in and build your own store. That'll be it. And then Z Campaigns Chat is launching a new email newsletter, and you can go learn all about that as well. So check that out. Alrighty, with that, let's jump right into the news. We got a bit of news. So starting off, Zoho Voice is adding business hours of operation. I think just something it really needed as it kind of goes along. So you can now go ahead and set your business hours of operation, kind of something that all other of those kind of applications have. And it's, good thing. About time they added that. It's kind of cool. Zoho Notebook now adds IFT integration, which if you've never used IFT, it stands for if this, then that. And it is basically you can't really call it a Zapier. It's because it can do so much. How would you describe it?
Yeah, it's like a Zapier, I guess, but it touches a lot more like consumer products. So for example, I have one that I use in Spotify that every week it adds my new Discover Weekly playlist to a running playlist so that I have just a history of all those songs. So it's like a Zapier, but it has a lot more of those consumer products that you might just be setting up for like home automation or, personal automations.
Yeah. It's got some weird things. I mean, I used to use it a ton to control my Hue light bulbs. Mm-hmm. And then I would attach it to my Echo device. So I would say, Echo, set DEFCON 1, and all the lights in the house would flash and freak everybody out, and it would play siren noise. I mean, that's what you could do. But this is nice. Basically get a new card. There's a lot of things you can do with it. I did, after I saw this, I went in and we're begging you. I just want to be in Zoho Notebook, and I want to be able to attach it to a record in CRM. And it's not there.
One day.
It does have Zapier integration, but that really wouldn't get it done because you couldn't really do a record lookup, I don't think. Not at least easily. So no. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, kudos on Zoho Notebook as it continues to evolve. And then if you live in South Africa, Zoho's POPIA compliance statement. This is the Protection of Personal Information Act, and it went into force on July 1st. Basically, every other country is just getting on. It's GDPR. It's everything in its brother. Anyway, Zoho's compliant, and they have they're ready. So for those of you doing business in South Africa, or those of you in South Africa, Zoho's pretty much good to go there. I don't think there's much more we can say about that, is there?
No, not too much.
All righty. And then WorkDrive, TrueSync Windows Auto Update. We're loving WorkDrive. What do you think of this?
Yes, this one, I know you like using the TrueSync app. I mean, this pretty much gives you a desktop experience to access any of your WorkDrive files. I think really this is just a quality of life update here. They're just now having it do some auto updates as different app versions come out. It's rolling the updates for the latest version of Windows OS as well. It's just, I think, a little bit less maintenance that you're going to have to do anytime that the Windows OS updates here for TrueSync.
Yeah, I like the WorkDrive TrueSync. So I think I've got a 4 terabyte SSD that's just attached to my main system here. And it just keeps a mirror image of everything that's sitting up on WorkDrive. Yep. So the entire WorkDrive, everything for everybody is kept there. In I guess it's the backup of the cloud. So, I think sometimes it's good to have, but it's quick. It works exceptionally well. I've got the iOS version, but or the OS X version, but it seems to work well. Also, you can now manage your contacts inside of SalesIQ. SalesIQ continues to add stuff, man. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, and I think this will really be effective when you're running the CRM integration as well, when you're tying those contacts back and forth. Even now giving you the ability to call or email out through SalesIQ. Of course, you could also do that through the CRM, but if you have a sales team that might be primarily living within SalesIQ, now it creates more of a one-stop shop type of experience. So if you have voice IP connected, you can call out. If you've got your email integrated, you could send out emails using a variety of templates. And then additionally, it looks like they've kind of cloned the ability to create views as well. So if you're pulling over the industry or the location of a particular contact, you can create a custom list view inside of SalesIQ to just see those people.
Yeah. Excellent. I guess, I'm not sure how many people live inside SalesIQ. I mean, this is if you're just all chat, right? I mean, this is really got to be just for people who are just doing chat and kind of living in that world. Alrighty, and then Zoho Projects, added a lookup field in the timesheet layout. So I know our team uses projects extensively. Is this something that you see as pretty cool or just nice to have?
It's a quality of life thing. So really, like when you're working on a task in projects, you'll assign it work hours, which is an estimate, right? So I might assume this is going to take about 4 hours to complete. And then previously what, a team member would do, they're working on that task. They go to create a timesheet entry for that specific task inside of projects. And the one little headache was that once you pulled up the timesheet creation, you could no longer see those estimated work hours. And, of course, you're going to bill or you're going to log your actual time spent, but you might just want to quickly see it versus that expectation. Especially if you're doing billing out of your timesheets, it's pretty important to know where we're at compared to what we expected. And this is basically just presenting that field inside of the timesheets so that as you're logging time or as you're reviewing time entries later, you'll be able to see what the estimation was as a reference.
All right. And then moving right along here, Zoho Analytics mobile app has added Ask Zia. Now for me, Zia is a little bit hit and miss. Sometimes I absolutely love it. It depends on the application. I've not played around with Zia inside of analytics, but since that's truly your domain, have you spent any time with this at all? Or
yeah, Zia actually does. She does a better job pulling reports in analytics than it does when you query it just from the CRM. I found that when I try to trick it, it does a better job of getting at least close to what it might have assumed I was asking. Honestly, I like Zia on the mobile app. If you're looking at analytics, right, you're not going to want to create a new pivot table on the mobile app. It's just going to be a pain. So being able to ask it a question and have it surface its best guess, I think, especially when you're thinking about mobile, is just a really good use case.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So you're saying, because one of the things I find on the CRM Zia is I'll just ask it a simple question like, what are the sales this month? You think it would look at deals and see the closed won deals for the month, right? Anything that was closed won in that month, but it just comes up with random numbers every time. And I can never figure it out, but you're saying it actually maybe gives you more relevant data inside.
I've found it does a better job inside of analytics.
Interesting. All righty. And we've got a few community digests to go over. We'll start off with the Zoho Inventory Community Digest. If you aren't aware of these, we just like to kind of put them into the show notes because it's just kind of a rundown of everything usually that happened in the last month and also what the community has in fact contributed. So, and of course, we've got another, it also announces webinar. This was a webinar that already happened. So I guess this came out just as the day the webinar was happening. That's kind of standard for Zoho. Anyway, do you see anything in here that jumped out?
No, I think a lot of these are just the stories we've covered throughout the past month, but a good little review if anyone missed a show.
All right. And then you can now capture your creative spark with Zoho Meetings, all new integration with Zoho Notebook. Don't get me started, dude. So you've got IFT, and now you've got Meeting and Notebook. We still don't have CRM, but this is nice. I mean, this is absolutely beautiful. You had this already if you had the Notebook Chrome extension running.
Mm-hmm.
It basically will pop it up. Now this is kind of real, more native integration, but you're in a Zoho meeting and you want to take notes. You probably should use Zoho Notebook for that. So this
It
is
looks
that.
cool. I mean, it basically pulls it up as an embed inside of your meeting window. You can also reference existing notes too. So if you had a running list of notes, maybe this was meeting 3 in a long series of meetings, you can pull up an existing note and take it down that way. Nice little update. Again, like this, they've got to go somewhere. I think that's the one thing we always have with Notebook is that things just live in Notebook. They don't really tie into other tools.
Yep.
But I think this is a pretty logical little update here to just tie right into meeting. Yeah,
I agree. You know, I was actually thinking about the other day, I've been on several Zoho meetings lately. The recording quality is still abysmal, but other than that, it's really, really good. And if they, so now I wish they'd work on some integrations for Calendly, Acuity scheduling, the big scheduling software out there. Because if they had that, then you'd be in some pretty decent shape with this. I think we could probably get rid of Zoom as just a client interfacing thing and use Zoho Meeting for that. Still keep Zoom webinars because those are the things we really care about on the recording quality, you know. But this would, this with Notebook, it's kind of nice, and it is getting just a lot better. So getting close, baby. All right. Moving along. Man, we're burning through here. All right, Tyler. This is killing me. So, Zoho bookings had an outage. Hey, outages happen. But this is what they're saying here is the reason that Zoho went out for 5 hours on the 30th, Zoho bookings, is that a couple of customers had imported bulk records into bookings with the help of a workflow script, which crashed the freaking server. So something around this just strikes me as, I don't know.
Hard to imagine how many records could have possibly been imported into bookings in such a short time period to have caused an outage. You really would have to be adding just an incredible amount of bookings. And I guess there is one extra step, right? If you think about an integration load, if I create a booking record, it now is going to trigger writing to a calendar. So you're kind of getting double dinged in terms of like your necessary resources anytime a booking is being added.
There's millions and millions of clients, millions of people accessing these servers, and a couple of people upload some records into. I don't get it, man. I'd really love for Zoho to give us an explanation. We increased the capacity of our database servers. So maybe because it was bookings and nobody really used it, they were just
just been lowly allocated.
They were just giving it a sliver on the side, right? I don't know.
Just surprising that any action that a couple client users could take would be enough to bring it down.
I know.
Given that most Zoho applications already have rate limiting on how many API calls you can make. I mean, in the CRM, it's only 100 per second, which sounds like a lot, but it's less than you would imagine, or 100 per minute, pardon me. And so, yeah, I'm a little surprised that people were even able to do enough to possibly cause an issue like this.
It's wacky. And I don't know, I follow the bookings community posts and then the internal connect channel on bookings. I'm like all over those because I'm waiting for, for it to become a useful application, right? But it's not. I mean, the complaints about this, double bookings, missed bookings. I mean, it's just constant. Normally, I'm all for Zoho releasing a product that isn't great, but it's good enough and it gets it done. But this is a mission critical product and it's just not there, man. And so I almost feel like I wish they'd take it off the market and fix it and come back when it's ready or something, because it's just too many issues with it. So anyway, that's my rant about Zoho bookings. And then we have one more community digest, and that is the big one. That's the Zoho CRM community digest. And I kind of hit the big ones, multi-organization support. We've covered all these before, but they also talk about the Zoho user group meetings coming up and some good stuff in there. So if you don't, again, if you go to help.zoho.com/ anyway, just search for Zoho community, go to the Zoho community, go in there. And, there's just a great interaction, and they basically pull this from here. So it's basically everything that happened in the community, whether it was posted by Zoho or some users. And we've had some of our listeners are quoted in here, with some of the ideas they come up with. So another great resource for information on Zoho. That's where we get, I would say, 80% of our stuff is scouring those on a daily basis. All right, Tyler, talk about our implementation of the week.
So yeah, this is a really fun one here using Zoho Surveys. We've kind of mentioned this a couple times before, but we thought we would give it its due here and talk through it. So really, everything in this is just done within Zoho Survey using Deluge, so Zoho's scripting language. Basically the basis of this is that within Zoho Survey, the minute that a survey response is recorded, we can actually trigger a piece of Deluge code that does just about whatever we want. In the past, we've used that to run integration actions over to the CRM, over to Desk, right, and kind of automate things throughout the Zoho ecosystem. But in this case, the use case was a little bit more simple. We really just wanted to provide a way that once someone takes a survey, they get instant feedback, right? You score in these kind of ways in these categories, and you score in these ways for these other categories. And so we kind of went through a couple different ways to try to tackle this. Our first idea, it was an ill-fated idea, but it was to have a creator form, and you would fill out the creator form, and then in that same embed, it would pop up a report. That we found just wasn't fast enough. It was taking too long to scrape through the data and surface the report. So what we ended up doing was building it in surveys and running a little bit of Deluge code that basically groups the various question responses into their own categories. So, questions A, B, C, and D are all going to record a score of 1 through 5. And then we want a category A score that's going to be between 1 and 20. And so the Deluge code can sum up the relevant questions into the totals for each of those categories. Then we built out some HTML and basically worked the totals from those various categories into the HTML itself. And the HTML, when it gets sent out via an email, actually creates a series of charts that are within the email itself that are fully responsive to screen size that basically roll up all of those various results. So again, it's really just all in Deluge, just grabbing those responses out of surveys and sending them out. Definitely not a simple build. There's kind of a lot of different layers of logic and conditions that determine which blocks of HTML need to be shown. You're working variables into your HTML code, kind of concatenating them together into the places they need to be. Altogether, though, is a really, really cool build. And at the end of the day, it basically gives you a way that when someone takes a survey, they instantly get an email summarizing all of the various categories and responses.
Beautiful, too. Super slick. We had this demoed for our team internally so that other people could look and, utilize it for their clients and our team as well. And man, the emails it puts out, the quality of the charts, it's really handy that we have a web development team as well that could take all of this stuff.
HTML. Yeah.
You do all the HTML and make it look beautiful. Yeah, but it's great. I tell you what, we found out, I think we found recently since we added the web team, and they're so skilled. It's coming in handy on a ton of things. Creator. We're just seeing their uses where the dev team's going, hey, could you make this look pretty? And we're and they're doing a really nice job of it. So, all right. And that takes us to this week's read. I have done, here's a little interview with Sridhar before, but Sridhar Vembu, CEO of Zoho, did an interview with Yahoo. And man, this thing is crazy. This is the best, biggest, longest interview he has ever done. He talks about, there's probably nothing he doesn't cover here. He talks about being an entrepreneur. And by the way, you can just watch this whole thing if you want, but it also has a complete transcript of it all. He talks about India's economy. And I love this. It's like, India's economy is trying to fashion itself after an American style economy. And he says, which by the way is failing because America basically shifted everything overseas. And now America's doing a U-turn. And he's got some interesting takes in here. But he talks about R&D. What makes him happy? What doesn't make him happy? Where it's all going? Everything. So if you want a little insight into where Zoho's going to go, why people stick around, why their employees are there, his thoughts on the pandemic, if you see as I'm scrolling through this, if you're watching on YouTube, killer interview. Anyway, like I said, best one I've seen so far. I don't know what your thoughts on it were. Did you have a chance to read it?
Yeah, I gave it a read through earlier today. It's Sridhar always just has interesting perspectives on things. I think his perspective on wealth, right, is that the wealth of helping others and the gratitude there is more valuable than having the wealth itself. Interesting, talking about going into politics. Interesting to see Sridhar as a politician. Definitely successful as an entrepreneur. So it's hard to say he wouldn't succeed there as well. But definitely an interesting read.
Well, he puts it off. I love it. She's like, so no, I got to do this. I got to do that. Distant future. It's like, who knows? So he didn't rule it out. So the headline is Sridhar going into politics. That will be it. So anyway, I thought this was pretty well done. So take a look at that. And that brings us to our blogs over on Zenata. Some really, really cool ones this week. I'm pretty happy. We have, 5 challenges of sustaining a SIOP business process. For those of you who don't know, that's sales, inventory, and operations planning, and really kind of run through everything you need to do and kind of how Zoho fits into that a little bit. But it's really more, if you look at this, Zoho does have the products to do it. Zoho inventory management, those kind of things. Super nice article. And then we have 5 factors to consider when building a brand. And this is another exceptionally well thought out read as we go through. I almost feel, Tyler, like we're getting ourselves up to HubSpot blog quality as we go through these things as we're going along. So great job from the team there, and some really good stuff.
Absolutely.
And then also beyond our blogs, we I guess that's it. Moving on to our application of the week. Zoho Cliq, we love. So there's the Cliq geeks are at it again, and they've basically had this app that's been out for a while that I'd never seen. I don't know if you've seen this one. It was released August 14th, 2018.
Yeah, I've not seen it.
I know, but it allows you to throw polls into Cliq.
Got it. So it's a slash command. You do a quick slash poll, and then you're able to create one and send it out.
Yep. And it's pretty slick. So I kind of looked around. It's got some great ratings. Just I think a really interesting addition to Cliq. Never thought about really running polls inside there, but this has been around for a while. It's got some great ratings. I took a look at it and I liked it a lot. So
very cool.
Very cool. More Cliq stuff. I will tell you from a server load side, though, I don't want to be negative today. I feel like I'm being negative, Tyler. But I was in Cliq this morning and I did /ZCRM, and this happened yesterday too. I don't know if you're having on some of these slash commands where it's doing database lookups, it's taking forever. It actually. Yeah,
there's been a little slowness just kind of sprinkled across some various Zoho apps over the past couple weeks here.
Yeah, I had a client. You're getting timeouts and some stuff. I don't know. They're too. Hopefully, they can figure these server issues out, because there has been some stuff that needs to stop. Because it's a little odd.
Well, I would imagine the growth has been pretty tremendous for them throughout COVID. With a lot of new companies needing cloud software, that's just a lot more server load, I would have to imagine.
And Cody from the chat room says, "Dude, we use Cliq polls all the time." It seems like a great app, Cody. I'm glad to hear it. So, all right, and that takes us to our tip of the week, and this is the very, very, very last in the Zoho projects series that you did, Tyler.
Yeah, and so this one is just all about task dependencies, how to set those up. Generally, we're kind of thinking about them from a template level here, but you could do the same thing for a custom project. Kind of walks through a couple little tips and highlights the way that I recommend doing it, which is from the Gantt chart view. If you try to build out all your dependencies using the task list itself, you'll get lots of little pop-ups telling you that you can't do this and you can't do that. So we walk through how to do it from the Gantt chart view itself, which I promise you will save you some anger and gray hairs trying to get that all configured.
Yeah, you cover it in 7 minutes and 34 seconds. So
just a quick one.
And as always, if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, head over to youtube.com/Zenata, where we have all of our videos and everything you would want to see. All right, that brings us to our questions. So Cody says it's great for getting food requests, quick feedback, party potluck ideas. I like that. You just kind of do some quick, hey, what do you guys want? What kind of pizza? And then Scott asked, I thought Bookings was a good application if you were scheduling with one calendar. Any other major downsides? I'm not using it on a day-to-day basis, Scott. But like I was saying, I do live in the community, and people that are living in it are abandoning it. They're jumping ship.
Yeah, the big problems that we have with it are one, it still has some underlying issues around time zones. Now, I will say we've had clients and partners that use it that don't have this issue, and we've also seen plenty of people that do. So your mileage may vary, but a common issue that we'll see with Bookings is that the invite gets sent to the customer in the wrong time zone. Or it will be like the GMT effective time of whatever time they booked it in. So it just gets a little bit wonky when you're actually adding things to calendars. And we've also seen issues with the meeting integration, that it doesn't always actually add the Zoho meeting to the calendar event properly. So you oftentimes are having to edit it later, right, and add in that meeting link. Whereas if you're using a Calendly in Zoom, it's just seamless, right? They only get one calendar invite. It's always at the correct time, and it always has a Zoom link. So if you're kind of lightly using a booking tool, you might be able to use Bookings and not experience some of these issues. But if it's a core part of your process, you just want to pay the premium and get something that you know is going to work reliably.
Yeah, and I'm hearing a lot about double bookings, which isn't necessarily a deal killer, but it just books. Well, actually, it is a deal killer because it's ignoring your calendar and double booking you all the time. And yeah, it's too important. Someone sets an online meeting. I will say
though, there are some benefits to it once they resolve those issues. The fact that within Bookings you can trigger Deluge code when something is booked, canceled, rescheduled, right? Which means that you can do anything that you want, right, based on those actions. That's fantastic, but it's just that core ability to make sure that the booking goes through properly. You know, you'd hate to lose a deal because the invite goes out wrong, you know, and it does happen.
Yeah. Is it still it's a creator app, right?
Yeah, it's a creator app.
Which is crazy. I think it's the only mainstream application Zoho has that's creator app. So I don't know. And then Cody wants to know our thoughts on the WhatsApp CRM app. I'm assuming you're talking about the marketplace application for WhatsApp. I personally have never used it. I
don't know if I've ever used it either, to be honest with you.
Yeah. The thing about it is, you know, for us, WhatsApp seems to be a very, very big thing everywhere but the US. And I think most of our clients are just going to do straight SMS. But I'm looking for this CRM one. There's so many of them here. Did you have a particular one you were looking at?
I think the big one is from Algebra, just WhatsApp Web for
really?
Zoho CRM. Yeah, it's the one that I think is the most commonly used. Yeah, it's not a tool we've used a lot. We've done just about every different SMS plugin that has ever been released in one way, shape, or form for Zoho. But yeah, we've not really touched a lot of these applications for WhatsApp.
Yeah. This one's got great reviews, though. I mean, I guess I'm pushing 4 stars with 117 reviews. So that really tells you it was last updated just a few weeks ago. I would say, most Zoho marketplace apps, they're lucky if they get a review. let alone 117. So there's clearly a market for it, but I don't think we can help you with that. So I don't know. Maybe we can dive into it. I actually use WhatsApp personally quite a bit because we talk about I'm traveling to Mexico all the time. I've got a ton of friends down there, and that's all they use. You know, I mean, that's pretty much the only way to communicate. They don't even, I think it's replaced their SMS, whatever native SMS comes with their phone. None of them use it. They only, they only use Zoho or WhatsApp. Got one more question. We'll take a look at that, Tyler. It's in chat.
Yeah. So in projects, have you seen where the work hours on tasks not immediately roll up to the planned hours in the project news? I don't think I have seen that myself, or the project view, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen that issue myself, Wayne.
I haven't. I don't know. Well,
generally, I will say what I always do, and I guess it's all right for some simple reporting inside of projects, but I oftentimes pull projects into Zoho Analytics and report on it there. You can just do a lot more with the reporting. So I will say with a lot of the reporting in projects, I haven't touched it much because we always just end up pulling it across and presenting it via Zoho Analytics.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you so much. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please head over to zenata.com or crmzen.com and drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. As always, you can follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.
Smash that button, baby. Smash that button.